Who will face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40? Of course, there's been a lot of buzz in the wrestling community after this past week on Raw. A former WWE champion was to make a return. And yes, there was Jinder Mahal originally, of course, to troll the fans in an epic way. Let's be fair, it was a good troll from Triple H doing that. And of course, it led to the return of the great one, The Rock. The second time he's been on WWE TV in around 3 months. Of course, the last time was in September last year with Austin Theory. Of course, now January day one, of course, for the Raw Special Edition with Jinder Mahal. Will he be taking against Roman Reigns at perhaps maybe Elimination Chamber, or will it be at WrestleMania 40? And if that is the case, what happens to Cody Rhodes? Does he face somebody else? Does Roman do double duty? Does Cody get his shot at the Elimination Chamber? It's a lot of questions and not many answers, but that leads to a lot of fun speculation. So me and NXT, we're going to talk about that as our top topic. We're also going to talk about the likes of the Triple H Money in the Bank announcement. We're going to answer your questions on AEW, TNA, WWE, and much, much more. So get your questions in. This is a 60-minute video. We are not going over 60 minutes today, so make sure to get your questions in nice and early, and we will answer those up until the time limit is finished. But NXT, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm very good, man. If you will, it's a 60-minute Iron Man chat.
Yes, exactly. That is our role. So we'll see how many falls we can get through in that meantime. But we've got Ghost Spider in-house says, what's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. Ghost Spider, thank you for checking us out. WrestleBoom in-house as well, along with Marcel. Thank you for checking us all out. Hope you're doing well. And we've got Eric saying, with his opinion nice and early, Rock and Roman, haha, pipe down, bruv, in the famous Will Ospreay way. He wants Roman, versus Cody. I don't think we're getting Rock versus Cody, as I almost said out of my mouth there. And me, thank you for checking us out. Hope you are doing well. Thank you for the info in the comments below. But to NXT, so first and foremost, Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 40. A lot of speculation going around. Of course, The Rock had his segment on Raw with Jinder Mahal. Of course, that went on for about 20 minutes. But then we eventually got to the actual key part of the segment where The Rock said he was going to go for a bite to eat after the show. Maybe to go and sit in one of the booths, maybe sit at the bar, or maybe should just go for the head of the table. Finally, a tease on WWE TV for Rock versus Roman Reigns. Are you excited for the prospect of the match? And where is the correct destination, in your opinion?
I am, but I think the worrying part is what Mania is going to look like, because I think everyone's expecting it to be Cody's year this year, and I've always said if they were ever going to do Rock Roman, it doesn't really need a title, so it leaves so many ifs, whats, buts, and nots to sort of debate. But yeah, man, I mean, you can't not be excited about having The Rock do a match at WrestleMania. Like, he always delivers a high caliber, high quality, and the fact that it's got such a story intertwined in it that it doesn't even need building, I think is really interesting. The fact that it's obviously they're a family, and that whole head of the table Samoan tribe thing going on, it bleeds excitement in itself. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with it. It's just a case of, man, this is obviously Triple H's first Mania as well. So do you know what I mean? It's almost like he's trying to blow everything in his first Mania instead of giving some time to breathe to next Mania. He's going for everything this year.
I think that's a good thing, though, in a way, when you think about it. Obviously, WrestleMania 39, you obviously, like you say, Vince got his hands on that one, so it wasn't completely Triple H's full choice at that time. But when you look here for WrestleMania 40, it's all Triple H's booking, and like you say, we've got the return of CM Punk, for example. The rumors are him versus Seth Rollins as a potential for WrestleMania. Obviously, if you've got Roman versus The Rock, obviously that's another big-time deal as well. Roman versus Cody. Does Cody finish the story? Is there double duty involved here, or do you pick one match or the other?
I mean, this is the thing. Like I said, I don't think Rock Roman needs a title because, early prediction, but Roman wins this. There's no way Rock's winning this. I think this whole point is about sealing Roman as one of the greatest of all time in WWE's eyes, and he would have to go over, and it's not about the title. So the rumor I've heard is that Roman's going to lose the title at Rumble to Orton, for example, and then we're going to get Cody Orton at Mania. And it's kind of like, my only issue with that is that Cody's not going to be main event for the Undisputed Universal World Heavyweight Slam in the Van Rumble in the Jungle title. Do you know what I mean? Whatever they call it nowadays. But yeah, it's kind of weird, like, because if Roman Rock has to be a main event, and it's kind of like then you're left up in the arms with what do you do for night one main event? Should it be Seth Punk? Should it be Cody Orton? Should it be Cody Roman? Does Roman do double duty? So yeah, it's just about booking it properly, because like we know the biggest thing is Cody is like the biggest other story is Punk and Seth main eventing, because obviously Punk's never main evented a Mania. So I don't know, man. There's a lot of questions to throw out there, and it's kind of like how Triple H is going to pull this off. I do not know. It's almost like he's going to book Mania as 3 nights and have a
Yeah, I mean, at this point, someone's missing out on a main event. That's what's coming into the story here. And I mean, for me, looking at it, I mean, I do feel that Rock versus Roman could happen at WrestleMania. There's a lot of speculation with the Elimination Chamber. I think there's a lot of fan speculation, obviously, on the likes of X, for example, Instagram. I think a lot of that comes from the rumors and suggestions that obviously Elimination Chamber is taking place in Australia. And I believe the people that have, put the money from Australia to get this show there, 60,000 people. They've also claimed that they want The Rock a part of this show. So many people put 2 and 2 together and said, well, hang on, how about we have The Rock versus Roman at this show? Which I'll be honest and say to myself, I'm not entirely against, because I think obviously 60,000 people, it's a big time deal, it's a big time show. But at the same time, if this was The Rock's last match, which I'm guessing it would be, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing it would be, surely The Rock would have to wrestle at a WrestleMania to close his story, let's just say.
You'd think that. I mean, especially like since he hasn't gone into the Hall of Fame yet either. He's waiting for that retirement match, and once that retirement match is in there, that for a fact he'll be main eventing the Hall of Fame the following year. So yeah, like I said, I the only thing I can think of is with Elimination Chamber is that they will do something there to build the story even more, whether it's a case of Roman has to defend the title at Chamber, Rock ultimately costs Roman, because do you know what I mean? For the longest time, it's always been Roman as the upper hand. He has the numbers game, and I think like if they flip that, then it almost gives it a precipice to say that, look, this is now going to happen at WrestleMania. But then again, it's back to the booking thing, like what's going to be the main event?
That is the big question. So if I was to speculate and give my feelings of where I think this may go, I like the idea you suggested about Cody versus Orton. I still believe that Cody will get his match with Roman at WrestleMania. I think double duty is the right way to do it. I really do. The only thing is that I can't imagine CM Punk losing another WrestleMania main event due to The Rock returning. You just can't make it up, really, can you?
Yeah,
WrestleMania 28 and WrestleMania 29. I mean, if anything's going to cause a bit of upset early doors, that will probably do it. So I'm still confident Punk versus Rollins main events night 1, regardless of what happens. I think Roman Rock would have to close night 2. And I don't know. I just have this feeling, like you said, Rock versus Roman doesn't need a title. What if Cody versus Roman was to actually kick off WrestleMania? I know it's for the biggest title, it's the biggest match, but what if they were to do something like that? Because, I mean, what a bang, what a way to start off WrestleMania 40 for over 4 decades. And like we say, this is like we've had the 10, the 20, the 30, this is now the 40. And as Scott Retro Wrestling has joined us as well, says, him to do that here would be a good thing. Because if you look at WrestleMania 10, Bret Hart was one of those workhorse people that won the championship. He who shall not be named done it at WrestleMania 20. WrestleMania 30 was Daniel Bryan. So, I mean, Cody would fit the bill for WrestleMania 40 if they wanted to do that.
Yeah, the other thing that we're still not taking into account is that Cody's not even on SmackDown. So again, you've got to possibly sit there and think that is Cody going to win the Rumble, and that's how he gets his shot at Roman. There's still all these questions about, because you've still got to somehow try and book Punk versus Seth, which a lot of us think is going to happen. Then you've got to think, well, if that's going to happen, how do you justify getting Cody onto SmackDown to even challenge him for it? But I mean, I don't know, having Cody versus Rock open, say, for instance, night 1, and then having Rock Roman as a main event for night 2, I'd almost feel disappointed for Cody being the opening match on a WrestleMania. I think, like, don't get me wrong, Cody can take not being a main event, but I think being an opening match is probably a bigger letdown. Well, not even really, because Brock Lesnar's done it for the last couple of years, so it is a possibility. So, yeah, I suppose you could get the double duty.
I mean, they did WrestleMania 37, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. The WWE title did kick off the show as well. So they have done these in the past. It's just a case of whether they'd want to do it. And if Cody was to finish the story, that's the other thing as well. We can just suggest that how does he get the match? Well, Elimination Chamber could be the way, if not the Royal Rumble, because last year at Elimination Chamber, they used to have Raw and SmackDown superstars vying for the other championship that was on the line. So Cody would probably get a second opportunity if that was to be the case. But I also think with Elimination Chamber, something you could do for The Rock, if you're going to have him compete, would be to do perhaps a Bloodline style match, maybe a tag team match, because I'm assuming Jay versus Jimmy will be in the works by this point. How about have The Rock and Jey Uso versus Solo and Jimmy Uso as a tag team match to build The Rock up to go for Roman at WrestleMania 40?
That's actually a pretty good shout, to be fair. Like a lot of people aren't expecting The Rock to actually be performing. Like, I think they're expecting like the Mania to just be the one and done. But I like the sound of that. It makes a lot of sense. It's just a case of whether they're going to do it or not. It'd be weird seeing Jimmy versus Jay in a tag team match. It makes, like I said, it makes perfect sense. But it's kind of a case of will they pull it off? Will they do it? I don't know, man. It's like I said, it's going to be exciting. I don't know. I think once Rumble's out of the way, we'll have sort of more of a clearer picture, because obviously from Rumble, that's when they start booking for Chamber. I mean, on the plus side for me anyway, I think it's on at 9:30 in the morning. I think that's for you. That's 10:30 in the morning. So I haven't got to worry about like losing sleep for the Chamber. So that's going to be great. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. But yeah, just to go back to the Mania opening matches, I forgot Seth opened against Brock at, what was it, 37, was it?
35, actually. Yeah,
35,
19.
yeah. So that was what the year Kofi won and Becky won, and it is a possibility with the opening match.
Absolutely. Now, there were a few comments in there saying, let's not forget the course. Cody versus Roman's how it should be. Not dismissing, we're just discussing the possibilities. Obviously, in my opinion, I think both matches should happen. And I do think we should have, obviously, still Punk and Seth as one of the main events as well. But should it happen so that Cody doesn't get to finish the story at WrestleMania 40? Not me. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just putting the ideas out there. You suggested Randy Orton being one of them. How about Drew McIntyre being one? Because Drew has kind of lost his way a little bit. And of course, a lot of the way that he's lost, where fans have turned him, he's gone to sort of the dark place, has been due to Jey Uso, been to the Bloodline, the reminder of that. And of course, who was the person that brought Jey Uso to Monday Night Raw? Was Cody Rhodes. So imagine if Drew was trying to stop Cody from having that story at WrestleMania 40. Could that be a good alternative if an Auto match couldn't happen, if a Roman match couldn't happen? Would it be something you'd be interested in? Or no, it's got to be Roman or not at all?
I would be interested in seeing a Drew versus Cody match. I think Roman is the one, man. Like, it's kind of like, obviously there's this whole thing about the streak. Like, I'm not even sure if Roman would actually still lose at Mania, man, because I think that's the other thing we've got to think about. Like, Roman is so close to beating, I think, Hogan's longest streak, which is, I think, is about another, I think by come Mania time, he's going to be another couple of 100 days off. And I wouldn't be surprised if Roman still retains and still goes on, just to, like, they want to get him on Bruno levels of streak time. So, do you know what I mean? I'm still scared that Roman won't even lose this match. Obviously, as we get closer to Mania and we know what the match is going to be, it might be a bit easier to judge, but I would feel really bad for Cody if he has two Mania matches in a row against Roman and still can't pick up that title.
This is what I would actually say quickly, and this may be controversial to the chat and those watching. If Cody was meant to lose that match, don't book it. Do the Rock match and do Cody when it's time. Then I'd be okay with it being another year. But otherwise, I do want it to be Cody, and I want it to be this year, because I do think Cody will finish that story. But like I say, double duty is the way I'd like to see it. We'll have to wait and see how WWE will book it. Will they do Cody versus Roman before at the Chamber? Will they do Rock versus Roman at the Chamber? Are we speculating for nothing? And The Rock is going to do another year-long program like he did with John Cena. It's actually meant for WrestleMania 41. Well, time will tell with all of it. But NXT, is there anything you'd like to add quickly before we go to our chat?
My biggest worry about that is how you book Cody for another year. Like, how, my God, like, they've done so well to kind of keep him busy and preoccupied. Like, but this Nakamura rivalry, if I wasn't so upset at the fact that Nakamura lost to Seth Rollins, I think I'd be a bit more convinced by this rivalry and this storyline. But the fact that Nakamura's coming in, going and saying, I'm the one that's going to end your story, and it's kind of like, you just lost to Seth. And I find it really hard to believe. And it's kind of like, how do you do that for the next 12 months to keep Cody till 41, where he could eventually win the title?
It's an interesting prospect. I'm actually fascinated to know how WWE would do it, which is why, and this is the thing, this is what's interesting with this, because in a way, this is why I'm asking that question, who faces Roman at WrestleMania 40? Because the time is now with both. Cody's time is now. There's no, otherwise the argument is it should have been done last year. But if you can't do the Rock match, well, look, Rock's an attraction, big box office draw, outsider eyes will come in for this match purely to see the Rock. You do it. You don't pass that. If it's on the table, forget head of the table, money's on the table, they'll do that match for sure. It's just gonna be interesting to see how they'll book it. But they've got 2 nights, as we say, so they could do Roman doing double duty. That is the way around it. However, there's the dilemma of the main event. But as I say, my opinion, I think then if that's the case, Cody Roman should open night 1. Punk versus Seth should close night 1, because I don't want to see any shenanigans there with that. I think the story is perfect for Punk and Seth with a main event of WrestleMania. That's what that story technically could be built around, because neither of them have had it. Seth, of course, has done Money in the Bank cash-in the main event of WrestleMania, but not been built as a main eventer for WrestleMania. And then night 2, you do Rock versus Roman. And if Roman has lost that championship, well, that adds the question. And is he still the head of the table? Is he still the guy that can carry the family going forward? Question marks will be on his shoulders, although maybe some would argue Roman needs that championship to still have the head of the table storyline working. Let's go to the chat quickly. Oh, go on, Yannick, Steve. You go first, then we'll go to the chat.
I was just going to say, maybe that's the whole point. If Roman does lose it before Mania, maybe that's the precipice for Roxanne, that you're no longer champion. I have a right to challenge you for head of the table. I don't know, man. It's because, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
It's going to be very interesting to see what they're doing. It's going to be interesting what our chat's got to say as well. WrestleBoom, keeping an eye out that Cody Rhodes story could be ruined if The Rock does wrestle at WrestleMania. Well, it's happened to superstars before. Like I say, you've got to get that attraction if he's there. Eric reckons that Cody Roman night 1, Cody wins, and then Rock Roman night 2 is the main event for Eric Douglas. He would actually bump CM Punk and Seth and actually have them in Backlash instead. That's what he would do.
No. So I couldn't bump that from a Mania card. That's insane. Like, that's such a big match.
Maybe it's the rematch, but for me, I personally disagree. I wouldn't do it either. But hey, Eric, that's his opinion. He's entitled to it.
Yeah.
Ghost Spider says, I think that it'll be Roman Reigns versus The Rock happens at Elimination Chamber, and then Reigns versus Cody 2 at WrestleMania 40. So we have an Elimination Chamber call, which is good to see. We've got Marcel saying the Elimination Chamber have Roman versus Cody versus Zayn, KO, Jay, and Randy. Have Roman and Cody start and be the final 2, and have Cody win the Chamber. That Roman has no advantage and help. It's an interesting plot with the storyline there. Would you be a fan of that?
I don't know, man. It's kind of like it's kind of, but then it kind of feels underwhelming for Cody to not win at Mania again. It's kind of like, if you're going to change the title, I find it very hard to believe that they would change it at a pay-per-view that's not in the US. Like, that's always the thing with WWE. World titles very, very rarely ever change hands at titles at shows that are not in the US, and that's why I find it hard to believe. I mean, the only other thing I could possibly think of is a triple threat between the 3 of them in the main event. It doesn't work the same for Rock and Roman, but it's the way to get all 3 of them in the main event, I suppose.
It's one way of doing it, and like you say, it's a confusing way, because the stories work best as singles matches, but I suppose that, like you say, is a way around it. As for Marcel's suggestion, I kind of agree. I feel if the title's going to change, it needs to be at a WrestleMania, and I like the idea of whoever beats Roman, they did it on their own. It wasn't like it was 5 other guys. That's why Roman lost the title. Yeah. But I appreciate the creativity that's come there from Marcel, because obviously it's an outside the box idea, and I like those. Scott Retro Wrestling says, my idea for the Chamber was Cody wins the Chamber, then and the participants, other people that Roman screwed over in his reign. I like that, because that obviously adds to a bit of Cody's story, because it's not just him trying to finish his story. Everyone else is trying to get back to get Roman's story finished as well. Ahmed says, let's not forget, let's not have that, I think, Roman and Rock, because Seth and Punk, let's not forget that. We certainly don't forget anything. Don't worry about that. And Roman versus Cody is the right thing. Let's not change the course. Fair enough for that.
Didn't Rock tease this before as well, though? Like, didn't he in September tease something about the head of the table? Like, I'm honestly trying to think that I'm sure I've heard him waffle on about the head of the table thing, or is that from some promo somewhere else outside of wrestling?
I feel like it was the Pat McAfee show. I feel it was that time, but I feel like it wasn't on SmackDown. That's my feeling, but
yeah,
I could be wrong.
Because I'm sure I've seen him cut a promo about the head of the table before, so And like I said, maybe it might have even been longer than that, to be honest.
Maybe indeed there, maybe indeed. Ahmed also says Roman shouldn't be keeping the championship because he's not really showing up that much. It's kind of hurting SmackDown. I think the time is right for Roman to drop that championship. I think we could both agree with that, although the confidence of Roman actually doing it, that's when it's harder to put the money on the table. But Eric goes on to say here, I know you want Bayley to win the Rumble, so how about this? Liv finishes second again, so how about she then goes on a tear for the next couple of months, and then she holds an open challenge for Mania, and who answers it? A debuting. It's a debuting. Julia, I believe, of course, who's announced that her group is breaking up in Stardom, I believe, in the last 24 hours. There's been heavily links with her coming to WWE, although BWE, take that source of a pinch of salt, has suggested that Julia will be going to NXT if she was to come to WWE.
Yeah, I don't think you'd ever get a debuting superstar at Mania in an open. I don't think you'd ever do an open challenge at Mania. If I'm honest, it seems like such a almost like a cheap book employ. Like they want to build, like they like to build for Mania, and they like to make sure that like this is what you're going to get going into the show. An open challenge kind of seems empty, especially for someone like Bayley.
I think as well, more as well, like with the answering of Julia, because she's not known by the worldwide audience. When Cody came back, obviously in Seth's open challenge, it was like the worst kept secret. Everyone knew it was Cody Rhodes. It wasn't really a surprise that he was coming in, and obviously the only other debut I can remember at WrestleMania, I mean, it was Big E and Fandango at WrestleMania 29, Big E in the tag title match, Fandango against Chris Jericho, of course, but we've not seen anything really like that so much since. So obviously Ronda Rousey another one there, but not open challenges, those last ones mentioned. But yeah, I'd be surprised to see that go down, but I'm not against Liv finishing second in the Rumble, I would say that. Ghostman says, I know it sounds I think it sounds crazy, maybe. Yeah, but hear me out. We're going to hear you out, Ghost Spider. Don't you worry. It's a CM Punk versus Finn Balor happens at Mania. Then the World Heavyweight Championship match should be Drew versus Seth versus Sammy at Mania, and Damian Priest cashing in at Mania. Interesting prediction there from Ghost Spider. Obviously different to ones that we have predicted there. But Damian Priest is someone still to keep an eye out for when it comes with that Money in the Bank briefcase. And speaking of Money in the Bank, could turn a little segue to quickly mention it. Triple H's announcement today, obviously, is the fact that Money in the Bank will take place in Toronto. Obviously, we've got the SmackDown that will take place on July the 5th, and then we've got the Money in the Bank show on July the 6th, and then it'll be NXT Heatwave having their sort of kind of NXT special on July the 7th, all in the, I think it's the Scots Bank Arena in Toronto. Great for Canada, getting more pay-per-views in WWE, but I was a little bit underwhelmed by this this Triple H announcement, and I think it's my fault because the internet kind of ruined me. They gave me false hope. TNA has started calling their pay-per-views premium live events. Now, the announcement was going to be made on Thursday. That's the day that Impact has their shows, so you start guessing two and two together. Of course, TNA also has now been, I believe, run with Endeavor. I know that that's happening going forward as well. So it just gave me the feeling that maybe WWE and TNA were going to work together. But I think I got a bit ahead of myself.
Yeah, I think we all did, to be fair. But if you want, Steve, I can maybe lift your expectations a little bit now with that announcement for Money in the Bank. So it's in Toronto. So who do you think's favourite to win that match now? It might only be one Mr. Sami Zayn.
Oh, now that would be one for. I mean, Sami deserves his moment.
So I reckon my dead cert pick for this year for Money in the Bank is Sami. I think Sami is long overdue a championship run, and I think that putting Money in the Bank in Toronto, it's either going to be KO or Sami. But for me, I think it has to be Sami Zayn for me. So my early prediction is Sami Zayn wins Money in the Bank.
I love that early prediction there. For the women, as we're doing this, Chelsea Green, also Canadian. How great would she be? How good would she be with the Money in the Bank briefcase? The annoying Karen character running around weekly on WTV, but that would be fascinating to see.
And then just to add even more to it, you can put KO in a match for a world title and have him win it, and the Canadians get a trifecta. They get all three of them. That would be just amazing.
Imagine if Sami cashed in on KO.
Oh, that's revenge for NXT. I love it. That would be great.
We'll just put Money in the Bank for you there, WWE.
He'll Sami off the end of that. That'd be great, man. I'd love it. You can't imagine that the heel heat that Sami would get from that. That'd be amazing.
It would be awesome indeed. It would be insane, dare I say. Let us know what you think in the comments below with the Money in the Bank ideas there. Might have to make that into a separate vid. Eric says, what if Damien Priest announces the cash-in for Mania Night 2? He certainly could do, but I mean, it's not something I personally want to see, but I wouldn't be surprised if Priest was to cash in at WrestleMania at this point.
I think that's going to be the earliest point now. Like if when World's End day one happened the other day, I was like, this would be a great opportunity for Priest to cash in and win this title. If he's not going to do it now, I think main event of Mania, say for instance, Cody beats Roman, Cody wins that title. I think if Priest cashes in and takes that title off of Cody, gets major heel heat on Priest, and it would be such a massive talking point and something to go into the Raw after Mania, and so, or even the SmackDown after Mania. Just a massive talking point that Priest cashed in on Cody at the main event, because I think it'd be great. But I don't think we're going to get a cash in now till at least night 2 of Mania.
I do sympathize with that, because I do think, like you said, there's so many good things that can come out of it. But I think if Cody finally has that moment, I'd like him to at least have that moment for 24 hours. I'd prefer Raw after Mania, but that's just me. That's just me. I remember when Dolph did the Raw after Mania, and that was a mega pop as well. Still got that sort of Mania crowd in there as well. So that's just what I would want to see. But hey, we all have different tastes. Ahmed says it's The Rock's fault. They had the opportunity to do this last year, but he turned it down. Did he turn it down, though? I think it's just it didn't kind of materialize in the end, as what The Rock suggested on that Pat McAfee podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are sour that it didn't happen last year and you had to have Cody lose. So, yeah, I think a lot of people would have just preferred it to have been last year.
I think so, indeed. There's CD in the house. C Nation Dog, thanks for joining us. Roman Reigns versus Rock should happen at Elimination Chamber. Sorry, but Cody Rhodes can't wait another year. I mean, to be fair, that story, you know, if the chapters keep coming, maybe people get bored and put the book down.
It's very true. Cody could lose all his momentum. So, yeah, you kind of have to sit there and think, what if by Mania he still doesn't win the title? Then what's the reason to even support Cody anymore, apart from his banging entrance music? Do you know what I mean? There's not a lot there, unfortunately.
We'd all still sing, why wouldn't we? Ghost Spider says, my opinion, CM Punk should not main event WrestleMania 40. He should never main event next year. He should main event next year, apologies, Mania against Drew or Sami Zayn for the World Heavyweight Championship. Fair enough. That's cool. That's cool. Scott Retro Wrestling says, if they did Rock versus Roman at Chamber, I would feel bad for Rhea Ripley. Wouldn't get to main event in her own country. And that is also very true, because you'd imagine Rhea is going to be a shoo-in for that main event spot at this particular moment at Elimination Chamber. Potentially, I'd like to see it against the Liv Morgan, but maybe it could be in the Chamber itself. How would you see it going down? And how Rhea should main event that show, shouldn't she?
100%. The only issue is the person. Like, I think for me, Jade Cargill maybe, but then it's kind of like, is it too soon to throw Jade Cargill into a main event scene just to lose? Like, that's my only problem with Rhea Ripley at the minute, is who do you have as the opponent? Because she's gone through the entire Raw roster, and it's kind of like, I don't know, unless they bring back, I know, another legend, or I don't know, maybe we get Becky Rhea, we get the first in versus with Becky and Rhea Ripley at Chamber, maybe, I don't know, but I don't know, like they're obviously dragging out this whole Becky Nia Jax thing, so it could be that.
We'll have to wait and see. I think the Chamber could be the most likely spot at this moment, unless we get a return of Liv Morgan. Because you imagine then that would be a personal rivalry that would go into the Elimination Chamber show, and I think it would be a good showing for both of them to do it. I think Australia would lap it up anyway for sure as that main event. Nubico in house says, hello everyone, hope you're doing well. No, thank you for checking us out. CD was kind of disappointed with the Triple H announcement. I was as well. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be TNA related, but it wasn't. Ghost Spun here with his idea: Damien Priest versus Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight title at night 1 at WrestleMania 40. Then Seth versus Roman versus Cody to be for night 2. Thanks for sharing your ideas to first Ghost Spider. CD, you've read my mind. Thoughts on Deonna Purrazzo leaving Impact Wrestling and going to All Elite Wrestling? What are your thoughts on Deonna Purrazzo's debut on Dynamite last night, and how do you think she'll fare in AEW?
My biggest problem is the women's booking, the roster. There's just the talent being booked on AEW. I mean, sure, she came out. She's now obviously got an instant story with, is it Maria May? I believe it is. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I thought with TNA obviously coming back, all of maybe expect like to stay in TNA a bit longer and just I don't know, just do some like extra dates and not even necessarily sign for AEW. But it's kind of like until they book that women's division correctly in AEW, I find it really hard to get behind it.
This is the problem I have as well. I would just say very quickly with leaving Impact Wrestling, I'm not surprised Deonna left because she went there in 2020 and she has dominated that knockouts division for years. She's been like the name, if you want, for the knockouts division for like the last few years. And of course, on her way out as well, she put over Trinity massively with three defeats and title matches against Trinity. So, I mean, for her to leave, she's done it all there. I understand to do something new, trying something out. Look, she was in WWE before. It didn't quite work out, but could she have gone back this time? It's worked out for Chelsea Green this time. I would have liked to see Purrazzo aligned with Chelsea Green on WWE TV. Just my personal preference. There's more time as well for women's wrestling in WWE. You don't get that in AEW. And the thing is, Purrazzo is a fantastic in-ring wrestler. There's no denying that. If Tony Khan wants to get behind her, this would be a great move for her. My only worry is, like you said, she came out and confronted Mariah May, obviously with the trashing of New Jersey being her hometown. And Tony Storm did the same thing as well. So she called out Tony Storm and said she's coming for Tony Storm. That's brilliant. She's going straight into the world title picture. But what if she loses? This is the big question, because if she loses, well, on past experience, people don't really come back from it. You look at Taya Valkyrie, came for the TBS Championship, lost, went down to Rampage and Ring of Honor a lot of the time. Athena, exactly the same. There is many people that have come in. Yeah, they come in, they have the title match, they lose, and all of a sudden they fall right down the pecking order. And my worry is that is exactly what's going to happen with Deonna Purrazzo, because Britt Baker's out injured currently, who's a match for Tony Storm when she returns. Jamie Hayter is a match for Tony Storm when she returns. The Mariah May thing is going to go somewhere, and if the Mercedes Moné rumors are true, you could be talking in 3 months that Purrazzo could be one of those people. Unfortunately, and I don't want this. I'm a big Deonna Purrazzo fan. So anyone's watching this, I want her to succeed. I want it to go well. But she could be someone that's going to be on Rampage, and probably more likely be someone that's actually competing for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship.
I was going to say, yeah, more than likely, probably going to end up on ROH for that women's title. I just hope for her that maybe she's only signed like a 12-month deal, kind of like dip her toe in the water just to see how it goes, because for me, if I was a female wrestler going into AEW, I wouldn't want to sit there and sign my life away for 2, 3, 4 years, and then like all you come in with all this heat and fire, and like it dwindles down and just turns into nothing but I don't know, a smouldering little wimpy campfire. Do you know what I mean? There's just a lot of the way all the women have gone, unfortunately, in AEW, and it's kind of like I said, I wouldn't want to be there more than 12 months, because if this time next year and she's not even, well, I presume at some point she will get a women's title match, but if she's still not in the top ranking or top build women, then what's the point in being there? We might as well go back to Impact.
Well, the thing is, it's how you're presented as a star, isn't it? And obviously, you're still on mainstream TV with AEW. That's always a good thing. But obviously, like you say, the stock and the time that's put in the women's division over there is clearly not enough. I want to see more than one women's match per week. I want to see at least 2 on every show. You've got Dynamite, you've got Collision, Rampage, understandable. It's a 1-hour show. You want to mix it up, and some weeks they probably do have more women's matches, some weeks more men's matches. That's totally fine with that. It's a really condensed show. But with the main 2-hour shows each week, you need to have at least 1 match per hour, at least. And the thing is, when you see shows like NXT, sometimes you have 3-4 matches in a row. I want to see that with AEW, because then that's when the likes of people like Purrazzo and stuff are going to really succeed and really shine, because they have chances to really develop their characters in front of the AEW crowd and fan base. And along with that as well, the storylines will get built quite strongly.
Your prime example, he won Tiffany Stratton, who has had a breakout year this year, and she's been on TV on NXT every week, if not every other week, and has been on consistently, has been world champion, has been in main events with Becky Lynch. Do you know what I mean? And it's like there's a prime example there of how to book women's wrestling, and that's WWE's developmental show essentially. So everyone is now excited for Tiffany Stratton when she comes up to the main roster, but I just really find it hard to get behind the women's division at the minute. Like I was watching the Abaddon Julia Hart match, and I was kind of like, I've got no enthusiasm for this match, because it's just like it's it's lackluster. There's no been no build for it. It's like I'm not particularly overly invested in Abaddon as a person. I'm more invested in Julia Hart, but there's bigger names on the roster than Abaddon, and I don't know, it just didn't feel like it was a pay-per-view quality match. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely not. But the reason was because the person that's been booked strongly is the champion, Julia Hart. Abaddon has been missing off TV, comes in for about 3 weeks before the pay-per-view, and then she gets herself the match. So I totally agree with you. And that's where Tony Khan booked that division better. That's what we want to see. And then we'll have faith that it will go really, really well. But I hope it does work out well for her.
It's almost like Divas Championship, like WWE booking with AEW at the minute.
Unfortunately, CD says that AEW is the only major company still calling the shows pay-per-views. Impact is the first outside of WWE to call them premium live events, but everywhere else does still call them pay-per-views at this point. But I know what he means by major company, certainly stateside. Jamie Farrenhouse, thank you, Jamie, for joining us, asking what Triple H's announcement was. Money in the Bank will take place in Toronto, Canada, over the weekend at SmackDown the 5th of July. The show itself will be on July the 6th, and there'll be NXT Heatwave on the 7th.
Do you know what we forgot to mention just before you read that next question quickly?
Yes.
What does this mean for the UK? Are we getting a pay-per-view this year?
So that's the talking point itself. Sorry, we're going to be a bit biased because we're Brits and we want a pay-per-view. I think that the most likely at this point is probably a Fastlane, but I would love to see Survivor Series War Games, just because I think that would be quite fun for the War Game structure. They've taken obviously the likes of Elimination Chamber, they've taken it to Australia, they've taken it to Saudi Arabia, so that it's not impossible to take these structures to overseas countries, as whether it fit any of the UK buildings. Another alternative, though, I just want to throw as a suggestion to you, because I think could be quite unique for itself as a pay-per-view in amongst the royalty that is the United Kingdom. How about the King and the Queen of the Ring tournament?
See, I'd be my only issue with War Games is that the biggest venue in the UK is the O2, and you're trying to put that structure inside the O2. That means it's going to dwindle the capacity badly, and you couldn't put Survivor Series in an outdoor like an open roof stadium, because of typical British weather. It would probably absolutely hail it down with rain and would be an absolute mess of a show. The only other thing I would have suggested was maybe SummerSlam, but I think that's already been announced for somewhere, hasn't it? So it's kind of like, my guessing is the same as yours. It's going to be that, or it's going to be like Extreme Rules. Maybe I'd be okay with Extreme Rules coming over. I think that's an okay pay-per-view as well, especially with the way Triple H books it and he does it so that every match is different. I think Extreme Rules has kind of gone up in value for me since last year. What was the other point we were just talking about? My brain completely farted and I went off on a tangent there.
I suggested King and Queen of the Ring.
King and Queen. Do you know what? I'd be okay with that, because I love the idea of the King and Queen of the Ring. It was a shame that we never got it in Saudi last year. So do you know what? Why not? It kind of makes sense to do it in the UK. I like the sound of it.
Absolutely, especially as Crown Jewel will probably follow not long afterwards. If I'm suggesting October time for a show, because I imagine that with the shows announced so far this year, Saudi probably has the end of May, June spot. But moving on, in the meantime, Jamie says, if The Rock versus Roman happens at WrestleMania 40, do you think Cody should leave WWE? Sorry, Jamie, it's a short answer from me. Simply no, he should definitely not leave WWE.
No, I think Cody's there now for. Like they're paying the money is obviously one of the key factors. He's paying one of the key factors. He's getting paid a lot of money to be there now, and like I honestly think that going back to AEW would be a step down for Cody, and that's nothing against AEW. I just think the fact that he's come in, his first match back was at Mania against Seth Rollins. You kind of don't get any bigger than that. He's in the main event scene. Hey, if he goes back to AEW, he still can't even challenge for the AEW World Championship because MJF's still there.
True story. He's never allowed to challenge for it. So yeah, waste of time going back. He'll never get to finish his story, will he? See, this is last year's Elimination Chamber had a WrestleMania main event level match in Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn because of the storyline. Keep the going with Roman Reigns versus The Rock. And to be fair, a good point made there, because everyone did want at one point Sami Zayn in the main event of WrestleMania last year before it ended up being Cody versus Roman Reigns. There was a portion that wanted it.
It's very true. That's what I said. That's why, and like I said, this year, that's one of the few reasons why I'm picking Sami Zayn for Money in the Bank this year, because he had such a good showing at Chamber last year. Sami Zayn winning men's Money in the Bank this year is my pick. It's a solid bet.
Absolutely. CD also going to say that he did think the same as us with WWE and TNA having the partnership, as Thursday is the day TNA comes on. Of course, the TNA launch of their streaming service actually starts again tomorrow as well, which is the other keynote people were hanging on to. Imagine if it was on the WWE Network library. I would have been so happy. But hey, not to be, unfortunately. CD with another comment saying Damian Priest is dominating the tag team division. He should be dominating the singles division. He's doing pretty good in singles matches when he gets them, but agreed at the moment, Judgment Day seems to be all about the tag team scene.
They seem to be all about the R-Truth scene, is what they're all actually about. Like, let's be honest with it. They've gone from being like the biggest faction to kind of like a side joke at the minute. Like, don't get me wrong, I find it really entertaining, but dude, this is like your women's world champion. This is your unified tag team champions. This is your Money in the Bank winner. And they're doing skits with R-Truth, well, particularly JD and Dom, but it's weird booking for me. Like, I enjoy it, but it's really weird.
Dom was your wrestler of the year.
He was my wrestler of the year. Yeah, I'm not gonna change that factor. And Dom's been doing great, but I just think as you think these guys should be near the top of the show. Like, I suppose the day one thing with Priest trying to cash in, like, let's be honest, one boot to the head and it stops him from cashing in, I think was really lackluster. Like, I would have still been like, there's two of you there, just jump in, beat him up and take the title. But, crazy for thinking logically.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, he thought maybe best to go for it another day. Kicking it with Leo in the house. Leo, hope you're keeping well, my friend. Thank you for joining us. I think this is Liv Morgan's year to win the Rumble, as she can have a star-making moment by winning, and the history between her and Rhea, and also the winners were dominant, and the past two were heels. I mean, to be fair, Liv Morgan, if she does return in time for the Rumble, because that's something we don't know at this point if she'll be there or not, but if she is, she certainly would be an outside contender for it, because like you say, she had a great showing last year, was in at number 2, and went all the way and was the last one out.
I would like to see Liv do it. Just go that one step better. But like I said, it's all a case of if she's going to be back or not. Like, I'd really hate to pick Liv Morgan as a pick for winning the Rumble, and then she's not in it at all. I think that for me, I'd rather pick someone that is more than likely going to be in the match.
Well, there we go. Well, I'll tell you what. Marcel, I was supposed to ask Nick Steve this for a video at the end of the stream, but he's giving his predictions for the Royal Rumble now. CM Punk and Bayley said, what are our early predictions? Now, I will say my current early predictions are also CM Punk and Bayley at this moment, but I would keep an eye on Jade Cargill as well. So what I'm going to do, Nick Steve, is I'm going to vanish from the screen, as this will be for a future video, and would love your predictions for the men's and women's Royal Rumble matches.
Oh, you put me on the spot now. For me, the men's Royal Rumble winner this year, as it currently presents itself, I think is going to be CM Punk. I think that the Seth match is just there and it's just waiting to be done. So for me, it has to be CM Punk winning the Rumble, and he challenges Seth, and we get Seth versus CM Punk Night 1 WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship. As for the female winner, this is probably the harder one. I'm going to go on a limb just because we haven't seen her debut yet, and I really want her to do something impactful. I'm going to say Jade Cargill wins, and we get Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, because what a way to introduce yourself for someone who's been with the company 3 months and not done diddly squat. Have her come out as number 30 of the Rumble, do minimal amount of effort, win the Rumble, go on to Mania. Don't even have a wrestle between Mania and between Rumble and Mania, and her first match is a match at WrestleMania for a World Heavyweight title. She beats Rhea Ripley. She becomes a world champion in her first ever match in WWE. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you very much there. You will find that clip in a future video, which will be coming to you in the next week or so. I can promise that. And Kicking It With Leo will be in that video as well. But let's go back into the comments in the meantime. Just say big thank you as well, NXT, for doing that, by the way. I do appreciate that greatly. But let's get back into the comments. Let's see where we are at. We are here with Ahmed's comment. It says, my prediction for WrestleMania, Roman versus Cody for the WWE title, Punk versus Seth for the world title, Gunther versus Brock for the IC title, Logan versus LA Knight for the US title. We've got Drew versus Sammy, Jimmy versus Jay, Bayley versus Io for the women's championship, and Rhea versus Becky. Hell of a card, and I've got to say, I agree with a lot of that.
The only one I don't get is the Drew versus Sammy one. Like, yeah, I get it. Like, I understand that there is sort of a partial story there, but otherwise it doesn't work for me. It's not. Hey, I could be wrong, and there's 3 months to go yet, and they could make it a bigger match. But at the minute, that's probably the only one I feel is probably the letdown on the card.
I think it's because Drew has taken Sammy out and Sammy still hasn't returned. I thought there was a chance Sammy could have returned at day one since he was on the holiday shows, but maybe they will save that all the way till WrestleMania. It certainly will give them something to do at this particular time, as I can't see where else they would go at this point. CD goes on to say, I think Kevin Owens should be the one to beat Cody Rhodes. I'm guessing that's when Cody Rhodes does win the championships. KO would be a fascinating one to do so, especially with the Money in the Bank idea. NXT you had not a long go.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, yeah, and then either way, you have Sammy cash in on KO. I just think you said it, and it's kind of like that's my thing now, and I'm going to try and manifest that into the universe where I want Sami Zayn to be Money in the Bank winner and cash in on Kevin Owens.
I love it indeed there. We'll be going for about another 20 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be a slightly shorter stream this evening, so get your questions in while you can. We'll get through as many of them as we can between now and the end of the show. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button. It does more than you realize to help this channel out and grow on YouTube. And Ubico says, with Charlotte Flair out due to injury, who will face Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 40, a returning Sasha Banks, a debuting Julia, or Jade Cargill, or someone from NXT? I've got my pick at NXT, though I'm going to go to you first.
See, of all them names, only one of them actually works for the company at the minute, so it's kind of like, who do you go with? So, I mean, out of those three, if I was to pick one, it'd more than likely be Jade Cargill. I think that's probably that is quite a big match to have in Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill.
It is the match to happen. If Bianca Belair wins the Women's Championship from Io Sky between now and May, you can still do Io versus Bayley without a championship. You could do Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill for that championship if Jade wins the Royal Rumble. So that makes a lot of sense to do that. I think that would be the most likely. Julia, as we mentioned earlier in the stream, apparently according to BWE, take it with a pinch of salt, could be going to NXT on arrival. I still think it would be a bit early for her, though, to face Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 40. But returning Sasha Banks would be amazing to see. Of course, they main evented the WrestleMania before. She's rumored to be AEW bound at the moment, but hey, people have said before CM Punk wasn't coming.
CM Punk was rumored to never return to WWE, so you know,
stranger things have happened. Yeah, take your pinch of salt. And the thing is, exactly. And the thing is, if deals can be done late in the day, maybe we'll get a surprise around Royal Rumble time. If that was to happen, and I'll say that I believe Trinity is coming in as well. We did say that about a month ago on this channel when we had Ella J on. About the idea that Trinity, apparently she's not got many dates booked after the Hard to Kill show, which of course is next weekend. She is free in time for the Rumble should they want to actually bring her back in. And of course now there are rumors going around via Fightful that Trinity could be going back in. Imagine Trinity and Sasha Banks once again as a team alongside with Bayley going against Damage Control.
It is an exciting prospect. I like the sound of it. It's just a case of whether it happens or not. So watch this space.
Absolutely. Eric Douglas asking, wasn't Michael Cole's one and only match at WrestleMania a main event? Thankfully not a main event, but hey, it's deemed as one of the worst WrestleManias ever. WrestleMania 27 against Jerry the King Lawler, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the special guest referee. The match went for 27 long minutes. I could have done with it being 27 seconds personally.
Oh, it just reminds me of what was it, Neil Patrick versus what's his name? The old referee. Hebner at Invasion. Jesus Christ, that was bad.
It was a bad time. To be fair, they didn't learn the lesson. Michael Cole had more matches with Jerry Lawler the rest of the year, including one of NXT's favourites, Jack Swagger, as well. Ghost Spider says here, I think Kevin Owens will turn heel after Mania and win Money in the Bank, and then ruin Cody Rhodes' story. Be perfect heel for KO. Certainly would be a great way to book it. I'm not against that idea. I think that could be a lot of fun.
It is. Either way, it's like I said, Kevin or Sammy will win that Money in the Bank. It's there to be written in gold. You know what I mean? It'll be one of the moments of the year.
Absolutely. And imagine this as well. CD says Kevin Owens is undisputed WWE Universal Champion, Sami Zayn is World Heavyweight Champion at the same time. Doesn't have that feel of a WrestleMania 20 main event, the one that WWE wants you to get?
That feels like a WrestleMania 41 event where both of them win world titles, and that will happen next year. And that'd just be unreal, man. That would be like, if you want pure fan joy and fan enthusiasm, like one of the greatest moments in WWE history would be that. And like you said, it would overshadow the previous one from 20 odd years ago.
Absolutely, indeed. Cindy was not a fan of Triple H's announcement, by the way, thinks it was trash. Ghost Spinner says if Chelsea Green wins the Money in the Bank, she will fail to cash in. That could be part of the joy, though, with Chelsea Green's character as well. Wait, she would be perfect to wait the whole 365 days, then cash it in, and then fail. She would be perfect for that storyline because the time would run out on her, and from being the person with the advantage, she would then be the one who has, well, pretty much the sweat dripping down her because of the fact she needs to cash it in and no good opportunities there in front of her.
It would be literally a 12-month stint of just failed cash-ins. Every week, it would be a case Chelsea Green failing to cash in. Every week, every pay-per-view, Chelsea Green failing to cash in. It would be the longest running joke. But do you know what? If they were going to do it that way, I'd actually want her to win in the last ever attempt, in the last possible time. If you're going to do 12 months of losses, I want the final one to be a victory, and she finally wins that championship.
I like it. And to be fair, if she wasn't to be successful, as Ghost Spider says here, then not like Matt Cardona, who's always ready. The jokes will get worse. Eric Douglas says, Damien Priest cashes in on Seth. We see a reversal of the heist of the century. That could be interesting as well.
It could be. And actually, I think that's actually quite believable to happen. Like, I think if anyone's going to get robbed at Mania, Seth's a good shout, to be fair. Like, that's a really good shout by Eric. I actually like the sound of that.
I like the sound of that as well. Scott Retro Wrestling with a great question here. A video I wanted to make, and I've not had time to do it. So I like the fact he's put this here, although I've not really thought of the answers. What are your bold predictions for 2024? Here's our Gunther winning the World Heavyweight Championship at Bash at Berlin. I personally will say immediately, I agree with that. I think that's the perfect place to do it. WWE will do a PLE in Japan. Loving that suggestion. And an AEW original moves to WWE. What would be some of your potential ones that could be there?
Oh my God! Oh, you're throwing me on the spot now. The tag team titles to finally be split up again, and we get 2 actual sets of tag team titles once again. The Gunther one is a great shout to win at Bash of Berlin. Premium Live Entry, and do you know what? They're all solid ones. You put me on the spot. I honestly, off the top of my head, could not think of one. I don't know, man. Like I said, WWE are moving well in all departments at the minute. Like, they're building everything in the right way, and they're sort of relifting and establishing everything. So, I don't know. I'm going to throw a crazy shout out there. Dominic Mysterio to be Intercontinental Champion at some point this year.
I like that. It's a fun suggestion indeed. I'll tell you what, to try and be a bit bold out there, I know the rumors are suggesting Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné will be AEW bound. I will be bold and say she will actually return to WWE in the Royal Rumble. I'm going to go out and suggest it. I could be very wrong. I probably am wrong, but let's go bold or go home. I also would suggest the idea as well. I agree with Gunther, as I mentioned before already. Let's Be Brave Survivor Series in the UK. War Games coming to the UK. Let's do that one. And I will suggest that TNA will finally bring back their lockdown pay-per-view. I've wanted it. I've been on every bold prediction video I've done for about the last 4 years, and it's not come back, and I want it to return. Now it's TNA. It's a good opportunity to do so. So those will be my ones there for you. But yeah, I'll tell you what, there's another one. Will Ospreay to win the AEW World Championship at All In at Wembley this year?
That is a really good shout. If not, there you go for a crazy one. Drew McIntyre leaves, goes to AEW, and it's him versus Will Ospreay in the main event of All In.
I like it. That would be a fun time indeed. And maybe Sheamus just might be a part of that show as well at All In. I think we'll get the most AEW to WWE flip-flops we've ever had this year with so many contracts up in 2024. Which is another video I've wanted to do. We've not been able to get round to just yet. WrestleBoom says, why should Chelsea Green win Money in the Bank? Shayna Baszler should win Money in the Bank. Well, WrestleBoom, we all have our opinions on it, but Shayna Baszler would be an interesting one. Would you be a fan of Baszler winning Money in the Bank?
I really want Shayna Baszler to go back to biting a chunk out of Becky Lynch's next Shayna Baszler, because it was great stuff. But yeah, Shayna, just like, from what I heard, I think Shayna's could be on. Someone suggested that Shayna could leave WWE this year because it's just not gone well for her since ever being called up. So who knows, man? I mean, like, I think I'd rather just see Shayna be dominant again. I don't think Shayna needs an item like a Money in the Bank briefcase. It's not a characteristic thing for Shayna and Baszler to have a cash-in opportunity. Like I said, Chelsea Green, I think it fits more wise for the character.
That's the thing. I think character-wise, I'd like to see it. At the moment, I'm quite interested in the Baszler Starks tag team. I know it's very early days for them, but I think they have got chemistry early doors, and I think they can make something of that tag team, although there may be other tag teams that may be ahead in the pecking order going into WrestleMania season. Ahmed says WWE wants to have Cody Rhodes as the face of the company, but he's losing again. It's going to bite them and Cody in the butt because people are going to see Cody as a loser. And there is that fear if Cody was to lose at WrestleMania again to Roman Reigns, if that match is on the table.
Yeah, that's why I mean for me, I think if it is Cody Roman again, Cody has to win this year. It just depends on if it's Rock Roman wins. If it's Cody Roman, I think Cody wins.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's a good shout indeed. Their CD here says they're giving Nia a big push. I think she's the next challenger for Rhea Ripley. She could be around Royal Rumble time. We'll have to wait and see what they're going to do with that.
I was waiting for her to start screaming about her hole the other day, but she, didn't insinuate it, so it was all right. I was waiting for it, honestly, but
it could have happened. Eric says, I said the chamber match should be the last 5 in the Rumble. And of course, Rhea, I think that's what they did last year, actually. They take the winner out of it. Then it was the last 5 people. Then they'll put in the chamber. I think that's a great suggestion, Eric. And I could see that being the way they could do it. And obviously, I mentioned Nia Jax there. Becky Lynch could be one. Perhaps maybe a Liv Morgan as well. If Liv Morgan doesn't win, she should win the chamber, says Leo here. It could be a way to do it if not, but we're suggesting Rhea in the chamber match here. But of course, speculation station from us. Ghost Spino continuing with that, saying Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. Extreme Rules match, Elimination Chamber, then Rhea versus Becky at Mania. Certainly, I'll be honest with you, of all the suggestions, I think that's what I'd like to see the most. I'd like to see a personal rivalry of Rhea Ripley rather than the chamber. However, I do think the chamber would be good if they don't have one lined up.
Yeah, I'd go with that. It's a pretty sound astute bet. It's just a case of I don't know. I wouldn't want to live to win the Rumble and then just like have a match at. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting my questions mixed up here. Yeah, so actually, there's so many people that have got the opportunity to win the Rumble this year, and I kind of like it because it's like last year, we all kind of knew Cody was coming in at 30 and he was going to win it. So this year, to sit there and say that at the minute, there's a possibility that it could be one of maybe 3 or 4 men to win it. There's like one of 5 women that could win it. I kind of like it, man. Like I said, as long as they just don't announce everyone that's going to be in the Rumble, I'm okay with it.
Absolutely, yeah. I like it when there's a few surprises as well, because then you've got the idea of thinking, will people come from outside of WWE? Will other people inside return some injuries? It's a fun time. I like the way when they do that. WrestleBoom says, did you hear the rumors Andrade done with AEW? Andrade's actually confirmed it. He's no longer with AEW, so I'm expecting he'll be with WWE imminently. He wasn't on Raw. Maybe he could be on SmackDown.
Well, me and Jonesy were chatting the other night, and he suggested he was going to turn up at day 1, and I was like, I much think he's going to be a Rumble entrant. It kind of makes sense at the minute. I think it's too just to randomly turn up on a SmackDown. I think if you put him on a Rumble, at least you could like start building him for everything after Mania season.
Could be interesting as well, but obviously with the Lucha stuff going on SmackDown as well, obviously with Santos Escobar, now got Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo on his side. You see with Ray, when he eventually returns, there's Dragon Lee, Carlito, Joaquin Wild, who, goodness, that was a wild dive on NXT this past week. That was incredible. Right. Get him in an RKO, please, as soon as possible. And of course, Raul Mendoza, or Cruz del Toro, whichever he's called these days, going on there. Andrade could be a good fit in amongst that chaos that's going on SmackDown. But also, maybe Zelina Vega as well. If LWO is broken up, maybe Andrade Zelina could be a thing again.
Yeah, my only worries is that I hope they don't drag this out for longer. You know what I mean? There's a kind of there was the sentence to beating a dead horse in it, and it's kind of like I hope this doesn't happen with this LWO story.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. Kicking it with Leo says, I've heard, that Dana Brooke debuts TNA next weekend for Hard to Kill. I have the same opinion, Leo. I agree with you. We've not had all the names announced yet for the female Ultimate X match, but I suspect she may be one of the last competitors that is named for that next weekend. Would you like to see Dana Brooke in TNA?
I think she'd be a great fit for TNA. A great veteran for that TNA locker room.
Absolutely, indeed. And just a quick question, NXT, will you be watching Hard to Kill?
I will probably end up watching it. Whether I watch it live or not, it's 2 different things.
That's, of course, 2 different things. I definitely won't be watching it live, but I will be watching it eventually, hopefully, the next day. So what we're going to do, we're at the hour mark of the stream, but we were talking for about the first 10 minutes of it with the suggestions of WrestleMania 40. So 10 more minutes, we can get through as many questions as we can in that time. And Steve, are you up for the challenge?
Go for it.
Let's do it. 10 minutes on the clock. Scott Retro Wrestling, another bold prediction. I think Mercedes Moné to AEW will be an utter disaster because of how the women's division is booked. I think you could be onto something there if she does go to AEW.
Do you know what? I think she'd actually be one of the few that's actually quite safe in the booking because she's such a big star. Like, this woman has been multiple WWE champion. She's been a champion in New Japan. I think she'd be one of the few to go there and be like I imagine if she's not booked strong and wins a world title within her first 2 months or 3 months or so, there'll be all hell to pay with that one.
There could be. I mean, the thing is, like you say, she's safe. It's if she wants to build a division. If she wants to build a division, then they're going to need more women's matches on the show. If it's just the Mercedes Moné show and she's happy with that, then maybe it will not be so bad. CD says something we were talking about earlier as well. Deonna Purrazzo going to AEW. Remember what happened to Taya Valkyrie? Goes straight into the title picture, then lost in Ring of Honor. Could that happen to Purrazzo as well? Really hope not, but obviously it's certainly a possibility. CD says it's crazy that Dolph Ziggler is in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Of course, that was very fun stuff that happened today with the Nemeth brothers being at ringside, I believe, for the IWGP Tag Team title match. And of course, Ziggler also did have, or Nick Nemeth did have issues as well with David Finlay, of course, in the press conference after the show as well. Your thoughts with Ziggles being in New Japan?
I was very excited for him to be in New Japan because I was like, man, he's a great worker. It kind of makes sense. Like, he's going to have some killer matches. But as soon as he started cutting that promo about that title, I was like, oh my God, it's exactly the same as Dolph Ziggler. It's the same shtick that he needs one more match. Or, you know what I mean? He's like, he's earned it. Like, if I can't win this title, then I'm going to retire kind of thing. And it's like, seriously, get some new material, man, because honestly, I just felt like copy and paste with that stuff. I'm excited for the wrestling, just not the character work.
I hope there'll be more for the character work. I do think, though, it put over that championship, a brand new championship in New Japan, and I hope that it has a good run for it. But like you say, it's going to be interesting. I'm actually quite fascinated for the idea, but like you say, in-ring stuff probably more than character work. I'd like to see something a bit more involved with the most wanted man, that is Dolph Ziggler. Douglas says, fun fact, the biggest female star, Britt Baker, hasn't had 1 second of promo time in 2023. She'd not, but she's also currently on the injured list. Apparently, spoiler alert, look away now. No champion retained at Wrestle Kingdom tonight, apparently. Good to know. I haven't seen the show yet, but I'm aware of a lot of the results. See, this is, I do not know if it's just me, but Mike Bailey in TNA doesn't feel special anymore. He's really fallen since his X Division title reign ended. Yeah, I mean, Mike Bailey is in a tag team match coming up, I believe, for Hard to Kill. I believe he'll be teaming with Trent Seven in the tag team title match, which will feature the grizzled young veterans, which I know makes NXT very happy. But Bailey's still special for me. We're actually considering doing a watch along at some point in the next week, aren't we, NXT, with the match that he had with Will Ospreay?
Yeah, I'm well gassed for that. The fact that TNA were kind enough to whack that on their YouTube channel for free, and I was like, Steve, Bailey versus Ospreay free on YouTube. And it was like, I'm so gassed to watch it. Like, I've only seen bits of it, so I haven't even seen the whole match. So I'm really excited to watch that. But I'll be honest with you, Mike Bailey, otherwise, I'm not a big follower of TNA, but I tell you what, the grizzled young veterans grit your teeth. I am super excited for them guys. They are going to tear up tag team wrestling.
Absolutely. I'm excited for the prospect of them there in Impact Wrestling and hoping that it's not just for the short term either. WrestleMania third rumors Sasha Banks goes to AEW. Don't think that she'll go to WWE with the Royal Rumble or Raw after Mania. Yet, according to Fightful, the rumors are currently Mercedes Moné to All Elite Wrestling. That is the rumors. Anything you've heard differently from me on this stream is me speculating, but that's just pretty much it. Or hopeful, let's just say, more than anything else. CD says, first I thought Becky Lynch would win the Women's Royal Rumble, but now I think it should be Bayley just because she's never done it. It's one thing she needs to do. It is one thing that Bayley does need to do.
My issue is like I like it when they use the Rumble to build someone, and it's kind of like every winner of the Rumble has kind of been an expected winner. We've had Becky, we've had Charlotte, we've had Bianca, we've had Rhea, we've had Asuka, and it's kind of like all top female superstars we expect to win the Rumble. Just 1 year, just throw someone else, throw a Liv Morgan out there. Why not, man? Go crazy.
Absolutely, yeah, would be pretty awesome to see if it was to happen. And I just saw more comments there with Sasha Banks here. I had to bring this guy up next because of that last one there. Tino's having a big signing, but I do not get your hopes up. Yeah, you can't get the hopes up because I don't know who the big son is. They reckon it could be one of the biggest they've ever done. Remember, they've had Sting, Bobby Lashley, Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe in amongst their ranks. If this is going to be one of their biggest signs, who will it be? Imagine if it was Mercedes Moné. I mean, he's on the Snake Eyes visit that's going to be after those tapings, and Will Ospreay will be on those as well. So, I mean, imagine. But yeah, I'm excited to see who they're going to bring in. But I don't have a prediction for this moment, but I'm sure I have one for you when we do a predictions live stream, which I promised for you as well, which will be next week. Could you imagine?
Elijah.
Is Abaddon a babyface? Apparently.
Yeah, apparently the Boogeyman is too.
There you go. With TNA coming back, do you have any favorite matches from the first TNA run? You've not seen too much TNA stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
Unfortunately, I've only really seen a lot of the bad stuff. That's probably my own fault, really. And it's kind of like I've seen Sting versus Jeff Hardy, which obviously went how it went, and I've seen things like I think I've seen like big moments. I just don't think I remember watching a lot of great matches, unfortunately. Which is, I was a WWE guy back in the day, and it was really hard for me to get TNA back then. So, unfortunately, but. Hey, I'm about to watch Mike Bailey versus Will Ospreay next week, so that could be my greatest TNA match or Impact match of all time.
Yeah, from Impact, certainly it's up there for me, along with some of the Josh Alexander ones he said over the time with TJP. But if you go back to sort of the TNA times, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but I remember really enjoying Rob Van Dam versus AJ Styles, I think, when Rob Van Dam won the title. Of course, there are great matches with AJ Styles versus Kurt Angle, but my time of fandom didn't really start till 2010, so I saw a lot of their latter matches. I'd like to go back and see some of their earlier stuff. Particularly want to see as well Styles, Daniels, and Samoa Joe, something I've not seen from 2005, which I know many say is one of the greatest TNA matches ever.
Oh no, that's 2009. That's Turning Point.
That's the repeat. They did one in 2005, but it's Unbreakable.
Apparently, Turning Point's the better one.
Oh, okay. There we are.
Don't shoot the messenger. That's simply what the internet told me.
There you go. We always trust the internet. CD says it's sad that TNA not do much build-up for Hard to Kill. It's their third pay-per-view without any build-up. Yeah, I do agree. It's a bit of a shame with the lack of build-up, but they're looking here for surprise factor, and I think that they are hyping this up well enough with surprise factor. We mentioned Grizzled Young Veterans already. We know as well we've got Alex Hammerstone coming in as well from LLW, going to take on Josh Alexander. That should be awesome. So they're promoting a lot of things here that are going to have people intrigued. So I think hopefully should still be good. Let's try and get through a few more questions very quickly before we wrap things up in 3 minutes time. Crown Jewel at Wembley Stadium. Go Spider, please. No, we would need a different name if we're going to get a show. Eric says, I imagine Abaddon versus Julia was done because they're probably friends. Potentially. Unfortunately, just needed a bit of story for us to care. Taylor says, stop the Vince hate. Triple H make the decision to have Roman retain. Stop the Vince nonsense. I don't think we mentioned Vince McMahon once on this stream. Taylor, I don't know what you've been watching, my friend. But anyway, enjoy the rest of the video. CD says, I do not know why, but I can see WWE having Awesome Truth beat the Judgment Day for the tag team titles. Wouldn't it be surprised?
Are we going back in time with wrestling? Are we going back to 2010 storylines, really, with the Awesome Truth? Don't nod at me, man. No, it's bad enough that like I sit there and debate Jack Swagger was one of the guys that put me off WWE back in the day. And don't get me wrong, the Hell in the Cell match where they locked themselves in and beat everyone up was fantastic. Did that stuff again, I'd be well up for it.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed that back in the day as well. And of course, Awesome Truth, it all went wrong for them when they actually lost against The Rock, funnily enough, and John Cena at Survivor Series 2011. That was the time that it went wrong. But hopefully, yeah, I wouldn't be against it. But yeah, I imagine a load of people would be. CD says CM Punk wins the Rumble, Bayley wins the Women's Rumble, and Austin Theory has not recovered from the Money in the Bank cash in for the mid-card title. I mean, I tried to with the John Cena win, but it didn't quite work out for him at that point.
Ghost run as tag champs.
They do. Him and Waller. That actually wouldn't be a bad shout, to be fair. Ghost Spider wants JD kicked out of Judgment Day and then Bronson Reed replacing him. That wouldn't be a bad replacement, to be fair. But poor JD.
No, I love JD. I want JD to stay in Judgment Day forever. Even when the rest of them are all gone, JD McDonough will still be Judgment Day.
Absolutely. And last comment we're going to take then, CD, when are we going to split up those tag team titles? These are the longest titles that the two have been together, 2022 to 2024. Hopefully soon. NXT, that's been your bold prediction for 2024.
The way he says 2022 to 2024 makes it seem really long, apart from the fact we're like 5 days into 2024, and I'm pretty sure they didn't unify until the end of 2022. So it's been just over a year, but looking at that makes it look like it's been longer. But yeah, they do need to split them at some point. How and when they do it, I do not know, but they do need to do it.
They do indeed. But unfortunately, guys, I'd love to stay here longer, but unfortunately, we haven't got the time to do so today. But thank you all for watching so much. It's been great to have you all involved. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe as well. We'll look to do more Q&As than we've got into the new year. Obviously, we took a break over the Christmas period. But before we do leave today, I want to say a big thank you to everyone that has got involved in the comments below. And I want to say a big thank you as well to NXT, who has been involved with the videos once again. It's been great to have you on board.
And man, always a pleasure. Always love waffling wrestling.
It is always a great time. Make sure to keep an eye on the channel as well. New Year's Revolution predictions are available now for SmackDown tomorrow, and there will be plenty of Royal Rumble themed videos on the way for you as well. Thank you all for watching. Look after yourselves and each other, and we'll see you for the next video. And hopefully one is dropping for you tomorrow evening, which again will be Royal Rumble related.